Every human on Earth is the exact same species. We can have children together. We share 99.9% of our DNA. And yet, look around. Some of us are pale white, some are deep black, some are brown, some are olive, some are red. The same species, completely different colors. But here's the thing that will blow your mind. We all came from the same place. Every single human alive today descended from ancestors in Africa. So how did we become so different? The answer is not what most people think, and it completely changes how you understand human history. 200,000 years ago, there was only one group of humans. All of them lived in Africa. All of them had dark skin, not because of some random mutation, but because of physics. Africa is directly under the sun. The UV radiation from the sun hits the Earth most intensely in equatorial regions. UV radiation is deadly to human cells. It damages DNA. It causes cancer. It kills you. So humans in Africa needed protection. That protection came from melanin. Melanin is a pigment, a dark brown chemical compound that sits in your skin cells, and it is a shield. It absorbs UV radiation before it can damage your cells underneath. The more melanin you have, the darker your skin, and the more protected you are from the sun. So dark skin was not a choice. It was survival. Humans in Africa had to be dark or they died. Natural selection meant that only humans with enough melanin survived to have children. And those children inherited the same dark skin. For hundreds of thousands of years, every human on Earth was dark-skinned. Then something changed. Humans started to leave Africa. Starting around 70,000 years ago, small groups of humans began migrating out of Africa. They walked north, across deserts, across mountains, into new lands. And as they moved further from the equator, the sun's rays hit the Earth at a different angle. Less direct, less intense. The UV radiation decreased dramatically, which meant dark skin was no longer necessary for survival. But here is where evolution gets interesting. Humans in northern regions now faced a new problem. Vitamin D. Your body makes vitamin D when sunlight hits your skin. Vitamin D is essential for your bones, for your immune system, for your survival. Dark skin blocks UV radiation so effectively that it also blocks the UV radiation needed to make vitamin D. So humans in Northern Europe and Asia faced a choice. Either keep dark skin and slowly develop vitamin D deficiency and weak bones, or evolve lighter skin that allows more UV radiation to reach the cells underneath. And that is exactly what happened. Over thousands of years of natural selection, humans in northern regions became progressively lighter-skinned. Their melanin production decreased, their skin color lightened. Not because light skin was beautiful or superior, but because it was survival. It allowed them to make enough vitamin D in low sunlight environments. This process took thousands of years, not centuries, not decades, but slowly over many generations. The human population in Europe became progressively lighter. The human population in East Asia became progressively lighter. The human populations that stayed in Africa remained dark, and populations at intermediate latitudes developed intermediate skin tones. This is not theory. This is documented in the fossil record and in human genetics. But here is the part that nobody tells you. This process is still happening. Right now, your body is still adapting to your environment in real time. And if humans migrated tomorrow to completely new latitudes, your descendants would slowly change color over thousands of years, not because of some conscious choice, but because of pure evolutionary pressure. Survival of the fittest. The skin color that works best for your environment is the color that survives. Let me be specific about the timeline because it matters. Africa to Middle East migration, 70,000 years ago. Middle East to Europe, 45,000 years ago. Middle East to Asia, 50,000 years ago. Middle East to Australia, 65,000 years ago. Now here is what happened next. Humans arriving in Europe around 45,000 years ago still had relatively dark skin, because 45,000 years is not enough time for major genetic changes. But over the next 20,000 to 30,000 years, natural selection heavily favored lighter skin in European populations. Why? Because vitamin D deficiency is deadly. Weak bones, stunted growth, higher infant mortality. Humans with lighter skin in Europe had healthier children. Those children survived more often, had more children themselves, and slowly the gene frequency shifted. Dark skin became rare, light skin became common. The same process happened in East Asia. Different timeline, different pressure, but same mechanism. Humans in East Asia developed lighter skin over thousands of years, but not as light as Europeans, because even at high northern latitudes in Asia, there is still more sun than in far northern Europe. So the selection pressure was less intense, the skin color change was less dramatic. Humans in India and the Middle East developed intermediate skin tones, not as dark as equatorial Africa, not as light as northern Europe, because they lived at intermediate latitudes. This is not random. This is not social. This is pure physics and biology. Latitude determines UV intensity. UV intensity determines vitamin D production. Vitamin D determines which skin tone survives best. Now, here is what is critical to understand. Skin color is not related to intelligence, not related to capability, not related to anything except UV radiation tolerance. It is literally just melanin, a chemical compound, a pigment that protects you from the sun. And yet, for thousands of years, humans have invented entire false stories about what skin color means. Stories about superiority, about inferiority, about who belongs where. All of it is wrong. It is mythology built on top of a biological fact. The biological fact is real. UV radiation exists. Melanin protects you. Vitamin D is essential. Light skin works better in low sunlight environments. Dark skin works better in high sunlight environments. That is all true. But everything humans built on top of that biological fact is false. There is no hierarchy of skin colors. There is no superior color, no inferior color. There is only adaptation, evolution, physics, survival. The saddest part is that this scientific explanation has existed for decades. Scientists have known exactly why skin color varies, but millions of people still believe in false hierarchies. Still believe that darker skin or lighter skin means something about a person's worth or capability. It does not. It means you had ancestors who lived in certain UV environments. That is all. Here is something that proves this is all about environment. Humans of African descent living in Northern Europe or North America have higher rates of vitamin D deficiency. Why? Because they have dark skin that evolved for equatorial Africa, but they are living in a low sunlight environment. This is not their fault. This is not a disease. This is a mismatch between their inherited skin tone and their environment. And humans of European descent living in equatorial regions have higher rates of skin cancer. Why? Because they have light skin that evolved for Northern Europe. But they are living in a high-intensity UV environment. Again, this is not their fault. It is a mismatch. This proves that skin color is purely about environment. If skin color was about something deeper, about capability or intelligence or worth, then a European in Africa would be smarter or stronger than an African in Europe. But that is obviously not true. The only difference is UV radiation exposure, and that is something that can be managed with sunscreen and vitamin D supplements. So why did humans become different colors? Because we spread across the planet. Because evolution works. Because every environment selects for the traits that survive best in that environment. It took 70,000 years for humans to develop the range of skin colors we see today. It started with one population in Africa, completely dark-skinned, then split into multiple populations across multiple continents. Each population faced different UV intensity. Each population evolved skin color that worked best for their environment. Dark in high sun regions, light in low sun regions, medium in between. This is not controversial. This is not debatable. This is basic evolutionary biology, and it explains everything. Why we look different, why we adapted differently, why we are all the same species despite looking different. Your skin color is a record of your ancestry. It tells you where your ancestors lived, how much sun they were exposed to, how their bodies adapted to survive in that environment. Nothing more, nothing less. A deep, dark skin tone is not inferior. It is not superior. It is an adaptation to high UV environments. A pale, light skin tone is not superior. It is not inferior. It is an adaptation to low UV environments. They are different solutions to the same problem: how to survive on a planet with variable sun intensity, and they are all equally valid, all equally human, all equally worthy of respect. The next time someone tries to use skin color to divide people, remember the real story, not a story about superiority and inferiority, but a story about migration, about adaptation, about evolution. Share this with someone who still believes the false stories. Subscribe to Thinkera. Next week, we uncover another truth about what makes us human. See you there.